We asked attendees if they think it was the right decision. You said that during Abramoff.
Oh, yeah.
What do you want to see Congress do for the veterans specifically? What's lacking right now?
It'll be very exciting.
I want to ask you about the election. Mr. Trump, you guys have known each other a long time.
Well, because we're not going to put up with that.
On policy, you're not.
They can speculate all they want.
In particular, Hillary Clinton, after pledging to raise $2.5 billion. I'm Nicholas Ballasy, here on the red carpet at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where hardly any Hollywood celebrities could be found, but national media personalities filled the venue. Former President Ronald Reagan was the last sitting president not to attend the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So I want to ask you first about Trump's decision not to come here. He's at the rally in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Good decision or bad decision in your mind?
No, I think it's a decision that he wanted to make, so it's fine. I mean, he's president of the United States. He wants to go to Pennsylvania. He wants to talk to his crowd. Good for him. Go for it.
And what do you think of Trump's decision to not come to the dinner but to do a rally in Pennsylvania instead?
I think that's great for him, and it's his 100th day. There's no obligation to come here. He said he felt it would be hypocritical, and I think he should be true to himself.
Do you think he should come next year?
If he wants to, but there's no obligation.
What I've been saying is that the news is the star tonight. As corny as that sounds, we're going to have a lot of student journalists in the room who are going to be recognized for their hard work. They're going to be given scholarships and prizes and all of that, which is terrific. And we at CNN are going to have student journalists at our tables instead of celebrities. So this might be the healthiest thing that's ever happened at the Correspondents' Dinner. I'm glad to see it.
Let me ask you, what do you think is the most underreported thing or something that the media needs to look into more now that we have a new administration, the Trump administration in charge? Is there an issue or a story that's not being talked about enough?
I think one of the issues that we need to talk about, and we're starting to do it at CNN, is looking at these Trump voters. Who are they? You know, why did they, in places like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, choose him over Hillary Clinton? What are the issues that they were focused on? A lot of them are economic issues, and quite frankly, we and others in the news media just completely missed that story during the election. And so I think we need to go back to them and talk to them and find out, okay, now he's in office, what is he doing for you? Are you better off now than you were 100 days ago? That sort of thing.
Yeah, and it looks like the blue states that he won, it was because of manufacturing jobs.
That's
it was
right.
because
he tapped into you have to give him credit. He tapped into something that the rest of the country didn't see, and it helped him win the election, for sure.
I wanted to ask you first about Trump's decision not to come and go to the rally in Pennsylvania. Do you think it was a good idea?
I think it was a bad idea, but not for the reason that everybody else thinks. It's not that Trump can't take a joke. It's that Trump missed the opportunity to deliver some jokes and to rally his base right in the belly of the beast. People love to see, their guy go be like, Daniel in the lion's den, and just take him on. And I thought it's kind of a little bit off-brand for him to kind of go scurrying off when he could have come up. I mean, listen, he's the president of the United States. They get a chance to talk, and then he gets a chance to talk. Why didn't he take that chance?
So you think he could have handled it fine?
Oh, come on. He's president of the United States. He can't handle a bunch of reporters and a comedian. He's got to deal with Putin and ISIS. So I think he should have been here.
He says he doesn't want to be here because he doesn't like the media and he doesn't want to be phony and pretend that he does. And I disagree with his position on the media, but saying that he doesn't want to be phony is a good thing, I think, ultimately. And I'm always for anybody going to Pennsylvania and spending a lot of money and improving the lives of the people in the Keystone State. Look, that's the state that put him over the top. It's a state a lot of people never thought he would win. Good for him for respecting that.
Yep. When the returns came in from Philadelphia and Hillary wasn't coming over, I couldn't believe it.
The fact that the Clinton people were spending that last rally, all that energy in Philly, I was like, that's not a good sign. They shouldn't be in Philadelphia on election night. They shouldn't have to be here. And by the way, and this is a Pennsylvanian, they had Springsteen, they had Bon Jovi. Those guys are from Jersey. You know what I mean? Where's the Roots? Where's Hall & Oates? That's what I wanted to see.
Now, President Trump's in our home state. He's not here at the...
He's in Harrisburg tonight, which is smart.
He's in Harrisburg. Smart?
Well, yeah, because he looks at that map And he knows how he got to the White House. He didn't get through New York or D.C. or L.A. He got here through Erie and Scranton and places like that. And he's just going to stay true to those people. Now, he may break out and become a popular president. He's not there. But he has to hold what he came with, like Obama did. It's common sense. You can't look in the eyes of people like me in the big New York, Washington media and say, do you love me? It's not going to work. But some of us are hoping he'll turn. I hope he does. The other night I compared to Sandy Koufax. The guy had 6 terrible years of wild pitching and then 6 years of the greatest pitching in history. So maybe he'll get it straightened out. I'm rooting for him to straighten it out. Who doesn't? Well, some people don't want him to get it together.
Hardball.
What do you think? What do you think about those who don't want? We have a lot on the.
That's their point of view. That's not mine. We only have one president. I'm getting old. I want presidents to succeed. I'm not waiting forward to Chris Murphy being president or, who's going to be. She's really nice.
I tried. I have one more for you. The approval rating. Trump's approval rating. The media is saying, it's the lowest.
Don't go for that. Don't go for that. These are the numbers I have to keep telling me about. If you took the last poll that was taken right before the election, he was in mid-30s. People vote for him who don't say so. You go back in history. When Kennedy won afterwards, everybody said they voted for him. They didn't. It was a real close election with Nixon. He barely beat Nixon, hardly beat Nixon. But afterwards, everybody said they voted for him. Now everybody says they voted against Trump. You can't go by polls. Trump people don't trust pollsters. Would you if you're a Trump person?
No, I mean, the media went along with all those polls saying Hillary
I used to think that they were honest. I thought they were true. They were wrong. They didn't understand that people don't trust pollsters. And they weren't going to give it straight. Here's what. The Susquehanna poll in Pennsylvania. Ready? When they polled people with a live person on the phone, Hillary won by 8. When they polled with a tape recording, Trump won by 2. That's my point. People were willing to say they're for Trump if there was nobody really listening. It's just a fact.
Yeah, and a lot of people
I
were
studied
telling.
it. This is my expertise.
Now, I just talked to Chris Matthews about the approval rating we're seeing of Trump. 41%. A lot of Democrats are saying, look, he's already one of the least popular presidents. But Chris pointed out that the polls couldn't really be trusted during the election.
Yeah.
Do you share that same point of view?
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe that. I think the polls. I don't believe that. The polls were inaccurate. If you look at the polling and you look at the popular vote, I think the polls were on. But I'm not for one election. I'm not going to look at the polls and go, oh my God, this isn't right. So, about the approval rating. Now, I would say people have had lower approval ratings. Not at this point. The approval rating doesn't say how he's going to perform as a president. It's how he's performing in this moment. So give him a chance. First 100 days, it's low, but give him a chance. Who knows? Maybe he'll learn from this. Maybe he'll look at these approval ratings and go, I need to do a better job. I need to figure out a better strategy. I need to, stay in Washington a little bit more instead of going outside and work a little bit harder and get more legislation done. So let's see. Polls are a snapshot in time.
Do you think tax reform could be an issue that Trump could claim a victory on, or
Absolutely.
do you think it will get stuck in Congress?
No, I think he could claim a victory on that. But he's got to do it the right way. He's got to go out there and get it and shake hands, right? He's got to go press the flesh. He's got to go sell it himself. He had to do the same thing with healthcare. I still think he could get healthcare done if he wants to. It depends on how much they want it. But it's not all on the president, right? He's got a Republican Congress. He's got a Republican Senate. They've got to get their acts together, too. So if they all get their acts together and they come up with a plan that they all can vote on, then fine. I think the American people want that. I think I think he has a point when he says the polls, right? Who listens to them? The American people, at the end of the day, want him to be successful because if he is, then the country is.
Do you think that 41% is accurate, or are a lot of people still
I think it's
not
accurate.
admitting that?
No, I think it's accurate. I think it's a snapshot in time. I think there was 100 days, there was a lot of show, and there was no substance. I shouldn't say no substance, I take that back. Very little substance. Had he gotten health care under his belt, started with maybe getting some infrastructure done, and the tax thing, and other things, right? Maybe if he had gotten some funding in the wall in the bill that's going to keep the government running for the next couple of days, maybe so. But at this point in time, there's not a lot of there. So I think people actually are feeling the way they're feeling, and that's 40-some%.
Yeah, some members of Congress have already pointed that out. If they did infrastructure first, could have probably got some bipartisan support on that, then moved to the more divisive.
He needs to have some. He needs to get some wins under his belt. He needs to have some wins, and then I think his poll numbers will start to go up, his approval numbers.
So I wanted to ask you about the access so far for the Trump administration, for the press. The press always wants more access. Compared to the Obama administration, which is more accessible to the media, for the media?
Well, I think it's pretty well known that there's been less access for the media, especially because I cover the State Department, and we've had zero access. We're hoping it'll get a little bit better, but we haven't been traveling with the Secretary of State. We haven't had briefings on a regular basis, so we're waiting for the improvement to happen.
What do you think about the cuts to the State Department? Do you think they'll go through, or do you think the Senate and the House will restore?
Mitch McConnell and the House leaders are all saying that they won't cut the State Department budget because they value diplomacy, foreign aid, and the programs that our diplomats, sponsor around the world. So I don't think those cuts. Some cuts will go through, but it won't be as deep as has been proposed.
Now, let me ask you about criminal justice reform, because that's a big issue for you right now. What do you think is the status of that with the Democrats and Republicans coming together in Congress to get something done?
The Democrats and Republicans who have finally come together on the issue are still together. The problem is that Trump is off-brand from his own party. Rick Perry, as governor of Texas, Republican, closed, I think, 3 prisons and brought the crime rate down in Texas. Governor Deal in Georgia, Republican, I think closed some prisons and brought the crime rate down. Kasich, of course, knows that you can bring the crime rate down by doing smart criminal justice reform. So all the smart people in his party are on one side of this issue, and he goes and puts Sessions, who's 30 years behind the times, in charge of the Department of Justice. So I think there's going to be some intra-Republican struggle over the direction for criminal justice. But bipartisan criminal justice reform is still struggling to move forward, certainly at the state level.
There's a lot of aspects to it. There's bail reform, right? The sentencing reform. So what is there something that you would support as like the first step, the main thing that needs to be done?
Look, I'm for pretty much anything, but I think one of the big keys, one of the big drivers is we're treating addiction as if it were a crime. Now, if you're selling and importing drugs, that's one thing. But people whose main crime is being addicted to something, I think we should treat them very differently. And you see with the opioid stuff, you got more people dying of opioids than dying of car crashes. And part of it is that shame factor and all that sort of stuff. So I think if we could deal with addiction like a mental health issue and a health issue rather than a criminal issue, we'd be better off.
The Reverend Al Sharpton walked the red carpet here at the White House Correspondents' Dinner and weighed in on President Trump's tax reform proposal. Just had a question for you about the Trump tax plan. I'm sure you've seen the blueprint. What do you think of the decision to raise the corporate tax rate down to 15% from the 35%?
I think that it's good for corporations, but what about the average person that he promised help for? They get a minimal decrease and a huge increase for those that benefit from the corporate tax rate going down, a huge benefit for investment and those that benefit from the tax breaks of passing on their let's say the taxes that they were getting, a high bracket tax in terms of if you're an inheritance, that's the word I'm looking for. I think that when you balance it, it's much more beneficial to corporations and the wealthy than it is the minimal middle class tax, and that for people that really need a real break.
Do you think the tax for right now, the corporate tax rate, is too high in America?
I think that bringing it down some may be good, but you should have a middle class tax cut that is much more substantive. There's no evidence that lowering the corporate tax is going to reap a lot of jobs.
Now, what about the individual rates? He put forth cuts to the individual rates across the board. Is that something you could support?
but if you've got $10 and I have $1 and we say we're going to cut everybody a dime, you only gave me a pat on the back, I've given you a whole surgery. So the comparison is that rich people are getting a lot more because it's across the board. They have a lot more when that percentage is dropped that they save.
If the administration keeps the high rates the same, but cuts it for everybody else in every other bracket, is that something you would?
I mean, I think it would be better for the people that he promised. Again, if I'm a poor guy in Pennsylvania that voted for him, or Wisconsin, I would want to see that the priority is me. So I'm not even going by what Al Sharpton thinks. I'm going by what Donald Trump promised.
Thank you.
Let me ask you about the Republicans, because it's 100 days in, right? Mm-hmm. They control the Senate, they control the House, they control the White House, and they just avoided a shutdown. What do you think about the strategy? Are you satisfied with what you've seen so far?
Well, there have been good moments and there have been not so good moments. I think that everybody's trying to figure out, really sort of pivoting off the White House, how they interact, how they move about on legislation, as we saw with healthcare, didn't go so well. Avoiding the shutdown was going to be an important next step. They did that. I think the real test begins on Monday. After you get past the 100-day hype, now it's like, okay, you ready to get the job done? What you going to do? You figured out you've got, you know where the bathrooms are, right? You know where everything is. You know who the players are. You need additional players in the administration. Get that done. Get them to the Senate so they can be confirmed. So the administration has a lot of work still to do. They managed through the 100 days. We'll see what happens on Monday.
Some conservatives seem to be upset with Paul Ryan.
Yeah,
in particular.
They're always upset with Paul Ryan.
Yeah. What do you think about Paul Ryan specifically? Are you happy with his performance?
Look, I'm a Paul Ryan fan. My advice to the speaker was don't take the job back when he was looking at it. I think his talents in terms of policy are not accentuated as much right now because he's got to manage the House and all of that. I think overall he's done a good job. He's done very well. He's avoided some pitfalls. He's trying to bring the administration into the Washington culture and climate as the administration is trying to help him sort of relay back to the members exactly where they want to go and how they will function with this president. So he's been a good mediator in many respects, an important one for both the White House and, for example, the Freedom Caucus. So it's been a challenging job for him. God bless him. It's amazing his hair hasn't grayed as much as others or lost it like some of us, but he seems to be doing pretty well.
Do you think Paul Ryan should have canceled the vote? Deciding not to do a vote to give Trump, a 100-day victory if they were to be able to pass an Obamacare.
If the votes aren't there, you don't do the vote. I mean, it's that simple. You don't want to. Hey,
he's not really a Republican.
That from my friend Chris Matthews.
I was going to say, he's putting you on the fence there, not real Republican.
But no, look, you just don't do the vote if there's no vote there. That's as simple as that. You don't want to get into the situation where you create an embarrassing moment for the House leadership or for the president.
They supposedly got the House Freedom Caucus on board. That's why I asked you the question. If they're on board.
They're on board, but you still have to manage what goes to the Senate.
Yeah, that's true.
So the idea is, this team may be on board, but you want to make sure that when it gets to the other side, that they're going to pick up the mantle and carry it on, as opposed to saying, no, we don't want it. So it was a smart move, I think. I think the White House really wanted to put the pressure on to get it done, but it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So
now let me ask you last about advice you have for President Trump in dealing with Congress on tax reform. That's going to be the next big one.
Well, yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I think the president has a little bit of an advantage, probably a lot more of an advantage on this than he had on health care. I mean, this is up his alley. It's something he knows well. It's something, quite honestly, from the campaign, he wanted to lead with. He has the advantage in the sense that he doesn't have to do it all at one time, unlike health care. He can do, tax cuts here. He can reform offshore repatriation of offshore funds over there. So he doesn't have to do a complete, robust tax reform package. He can break it up into smaller, bite-sized chunks and deal with it and assess as he goes along how the public is responding and where the support is for certain things he wants to do inside the House and the Senate.
The Democrats are going to be upset with they already are, with the upper bracket cuts.
Yeah.
You think the Republicans should just put that aside for right now and deal with the other brackets and then the corporate tax rate?
At this stage, I would worry less about what the Democrats are concerned about and worry more about how you craft a tax reform package that Senate and House Republicans will support and that you can then articulate to the public. You can't do that. It doesn't matter about anything else. So I think the primary focus has to be on this is where we want to go, these 1, 2, 3 things we want to lead out of the box with. We want to get the House behind it, get the Senate behind it, and we want the President to sign it. Boom. And then everything else will fall in place after that. And trust me, the Democrats going into 2018, if it's a good package, they'll be there.
Reporting at the Washington Hilton, I'm Nicholas Ballasy.